Alright, General. We have added treaty decks for all civilizations. Okay, whatever. Merchants and nukes now appear in fishing boats for the Ottoman and Dutch civilizations respectively. Okay. Fix several instances where units did not have appropriate voice lines. Cool. Cards. 2 War Hut Travois. Improves the hit points of war huts by 15%, down from 20%. Negligible. Fur trade now converts 1.2 times stockpile food into coin, down from 1.25. Again, negligible. Medicine wheel effectiveness or healers at the community plaza reduced to 35%. So I've read something else down here as well. So I don't know why their effectiveness was healers at the community. I don't know what was going on with healers. Were healers particularly good? I don't know. But that's 15%, so that isn't negligible. That's actually quite a big nerf. Mercenary loyalty. Okay, some tooltips. This is, I don't know what card this is. Now correctly discounts the cost of recently added naval mercenary shipments. Okay. Maybe that's the one that makes mercenaries cheaper. Naval gunners. Fix an issue that made this card available in Age 2 for the French, Russians, and Swedes. Okay, so these are just like general fixes. Team Engineering School no longer reduces the train time of grenade troopers and Abbas gunners. Okay. Alright, okay. Maybe that's more of a treaty thing. It's not really something you see in Supremacy. Infinite 17 Mayan allies. I get so dissed for saying that, pronouncing that wrong. Is it Mayan? I think it's Mayan, but I say Mayan just because I'm an English uncultured swine. No longer shares a build limit with a Mayan. Hulk spearman trained at a Mayan trade post. Technologies. Several technologies now get properly auto-researched upon starting the game in post-industrial and post-imperial age. Okay. 2 surgeons, 4 spies, 5 petards, British consulate. These consulate shipments available to China and India are now infinite. So surgeons, spies, and petards are infinite. Okay, that's cool. That's a very minor buff. I mean, you could do like a petard strat there. I mean, spies, I guess. You could produce more spies if the opponent is going lots of mercenaries. So I'm not sure you'd still ever want to send the 2 surgeons. Army of the Pure now also increases Chakram siege range by +2. That's good. Bourbon reforms. I'm very sad about this. The maximum XP granted is now capped at 2,000. It was such a shame because you could go to industrial, and if you did like a fast industrial strat, you could have like almost 2,500 XP. I think industrial you could probably get to near 3k. So but I'm not gonna lie. I've got to be objective. That was an unbelievably good technology, and it's 900 resources, I believe, 300 in each. So yeah, it was kind of OP if I'm being honest, but it's still good. It's still very good. Cheyenne Fury. It's going to make the France Revolt strat that I had a bit weaker, quite a bit weaker, which is a shame because that was like the coolest strat going. But Cheyenne Fury, Cheyenne Rider damage multiplier against cavalry now gets improved by 1, down from 1.5. Against shock infantry, 0.08. Now, okay, so Cheyenne Rider, they were kind of insane. They were like the best native in the game right now because they were just a cav that destroyed other cav. They were just absolutely insane. They were absolutely insane. Imported cannons. This African technology unlocking artillery now costs 150 influence, down for 300 resources in 20 seconds, down for 4. Why is that buffed? Why is that buffed? That's it. That's a massive buff. That is a huge buff because that's gonna make them be able to defend against good Botto type fast fortress timings. So that's kind of insane. The thing is, the African civs have so many units on top of it already that they have lots of units to deal with that sort of thing. Who knows? We'll see how. I'm actually a little bit worried about the African civs, particularly Hausa. I think they are really, really good. Anyways, moving on. So that's a really good buff. Folwarks, Vasa Royal House now grants 1.5 times more resources per economic building. That's good. That's a buff. Fix several instances where this technology didn't discount. Okay, that's a spelling issue there. We can't see that. Somali Berbera Seaport. Somali now rise 5 seconds faster. Don't know what that is. So, whatever. Okay, units and buildings. Experience bounties. Corrected the build and kill XP bounties of several units to correctly fit the unit cost. Notable examples are the drummer. Okay, fine. Ranged shock infantry. Previously hidden bonus damage. Okay, so that's just going to show these things. Okay, that's good. We always like to read to be able to see these things. Resource enclosures. The previously hidden 3 damage multiplier of villagers against depots. So that's going to be an icon. Okay. That's so random. Advanced hot air balloon can no longer be deleted. That's hilarious. Arrow Knight captured mortar, hand mortar, hurricane, Sebastopol mortar, siege elephant. Now inflicts 2 times bonus against walls. I'm going to come on when we come to USA, right? I'm going to talk about their siege options because they're buffing things like this to deal with walls and the turtle type of gameplay, right? But not like these civilizations already have good ways of dealing with this anyway, so this is just an even more of a buff against that wall type of play. So they're giving certain civilizations really good options against walls. Okay, some civs, USA can get mortars, yeah, but in age 4. They also happen to have one of the worst ecos in the game, but we'll come on to that similar. We'll come on to that. Athos Monastery, House of Fanar, also trains priestesses for Inca and Griots. That sounds very good. That sounds like a really, really good TP to get now for these 2 civilizations. We'll see what they cost. Can we skip this and go straight to Breeze's ship? We'll get there, August. Don't worry. We'll get there. We'll get there. Berber Nomad. That's put me right off, August. Oh, brilliant. Berber Nomad, cost decreased to 150 food. They were 180 right yet. And train time reduced to 30 seconds from 35. Okay, fine. Berber Nomads, 180 food was kind of steep for what they were. So 150 food's probably more in balance, in line with that. It does make the Berber TP very strong now, because it's essentially a second TC for 5 or however many Nomads you can get. Bolivar Revolutions is now currently classified as a gun. Okay, Bosniak combat promotion restored. Oh my! So they keep getting rid of it. They keep putting it back. They keep changing it, but with lower promotion benefits per level. Okay, that's good because Bosniaks were kind of turning into just a Stradia at this point, which was kind of pointless. Chakram classified as light infantry unit. Wow. Okay, that could be light infantry. That could change things if there's multipliers versus it. Siege damage increased to 20 from 15. That's a big buff. Now inflicts 0.6 bonus against heavy cavalry instead of 0.5. Okay, so that's a buff. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Cheyenne Rider hit points reduced to 300 from 320. We talked about the Cheyenne Rider. They are really good, and they'll still be really good, but this is a decent nerf. That's, what, 8% nerf to the HP? Community Plaza, minimum placement distance to enemy town centers increased to 80 tiles from 65, and hit points reduced to 1200. I like that. I'm worried. We'll come on to the Aztec changes because I'm worried that they've been nerfed too hard. But this is a good change. That's probably one of the only things you needed to change because the warrior spam was really annoying, and it made certain build orders with certain civilizations almost impossible to deal with. So yeah, that's a nice change. You can't spam warriors really close to someone's TC anymore. You could also like get your explorer up with like 2,500 HP up for like in seconds, you know, and just keep sending crap forward. It was really, really annoying. Consular artillery, and that's only a small nerf to it anyway. That's a small nerf, you know. Consular artillery, industrial age artillery units, heavy cannon, blah 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 blah. An extra 25% damage and hit points improvement to the industrial age, in addition to their standard 10% improvement. Okay. So that's a buff. Industrial age units. Oh, sorry, no longer receive. Sorry, okay, I missed that bit. So, okay, that's good then. I didn't realize they got an extra 25%. That seems kind of mad. So that's good. I like that. What we got? Corsair Captain. There's some things here which are just so almost pointless, but we have to go through them. Range infantry class removed. Fine. Dahomey Amazon. Now inflicts 3.5 damage. I don't know what they're doing with this. There's so many different types of multipliers. Dahomey Amazon, it's an expensive unit, and it's never really been that effective. So, I don't know. You know, it's almost the same sort of gold tag price as like a Stradia, and you know what you're going to go for every time. So, yeah, it's good against musketeers and maybe skirms. That's about it. Dockport, obstruction radius reduced. This is a nice change because docks are really frustrating to put down. When you're in the heat of battle and you're trying to put a dock down and you can't because you're trying to find the beachhead where you can bloody put it. So hopefully that will make that nicer. That's a good change. That's a really good change. It's a really nice quality of life type change. Drummer is now selected with all music. Okay. Native trading post decreased line of sight to 9. That's nice because we all felt like the trading post. I don't mind the free line of sight you get from doing it. It adds another element to the game. But having 12 line of sight was too insane. Even having 9 might be too good. But at least it's a good change. Landskinnet, they've changed it. I think they've changed the German Landskinnet card that they get in Age 2. So they're nerfing Landskinnet in Age 2, but then I presume it will go back in Age 3 and then get buffed again in Age 4. Levied Bowman is now correctly classified as light infantry. Okay. Light infantry units. Now, skirmisher and foot archers have their range. This is going to be the biggest change of the entire part. This change will be the biggest change, probably of DE almost, because skirmishers and foot archers have their range damage multipliers reduced by -20% against heavy cavalry and -33% against hand shock infantry. Why 33% and not 20% against hand shock infantry as well? I have no idea. Light infantry units that did not inflict negative bonus damage against shock infantry yet have received it now. Units inflicting siege damage, ambush gunners, received higher negative multipliers, whereas counter skirmishers, Pandors, that's a good because they should keep somewhat of the damage. Ambush gunners, basically this implies that ambush gunners have it even nerfed even harder, so they do even less damage to cav, which is good. But I think this is a good change. It could change the meta of certain things. It could change the meta of certain build orders. So this is kind of crazy, and I kind of like this change. I was worried by how much. I maybe would have liked to start on like 10%, or 20% is quite a lot. So essentially, skirmishers, you can't get away with spamming just light infantry anymore. Any sign of heavy cavalry, you're going to be screwed. So yeah, this is massive. This is absolutely massive, and we'll see how that progresses as the meta continues to change. Grand Columbia is now correctly classified as Lancer and Heavy Cavalry. Okay, Hajuk range increased from 20. That's huge, actually. Hajuk is an anti-skirm. So that's like a Pandor. So having 20 range is kind of cool. They do cost a lot of population space, though. Healer, reduced gather rate at the community plaza down to 20%, down from 25%. So I don't know what it is with healers, but they've already been nerfed higher up, and they're getting nerfed even harder. Someone in chat, let me know what the issue with healer was, because I haven't seen it as a problem. I believe it's only an Inca issue, right? I don't know what the healer they're referring to is. Maybe I'm getting something wrong, but Javelin Rider hit points reduced to 160 from 180. I think, like I said, I think Hauser are really strong, and I think Javelin Riders, don't they have? I believe they have range resist, which is kind of annoying to deal with. They trade really well against musketeers, and they've got really good bows. They can make almost every type of unit in Age 2. So I think that's a good change. Mapuche, Ironwood, Clubman, attack. That's an insane buff. That is an insane buff. They're the guys with the huge clubs, right? I think they're the guys with the huge clubs. Most goons have range resist line. Yeah, but most goons you can only get in Age 3, Vivid. So that's why Javelin Riders are a problem, because they're essentially an Age 2 goon, which, is kind of insane when you think about it. I like that change because they were kind of bad, so that's cool. Prospector Wagon, Salt Camel. Now you have Legacy hotkeys, which is okay. Royal Horseman. Typically, a Royal Horseman is like a Kerr type unit. They were never used because they're just kind of bad and they're very expensive. They're like 400 gold, I believe. So them getting buff is probably definitely needed. So that's cool. Seminole, fix an issue preventing. Okay, so it just fixes. Somali, fix another issue. Sudanese, Dervish, now inflicts 3 times bonus to heavy infantry, up from 1.5. 0.5 versus against all infantry. So essentially these guys are just anti-musk type units, like really heavily anti-musk type units. I believe they still fire quickly the closer they get, so they probably still do quite well versus other skirmisher type units. And they're quite quick, I believe. Warrior now grants 10 XP to the enemy player when defeated. That might be too high. I think that's too high. I don't know why they need to be a 10 XP. Half it. Get like 5 XP is plenty, because if they're spamming them, you're going to get 5, and you can build like 7 at a time, so you're going to get over 50, you get like 60 XP. So now, yeah, that's kind of insane, I think. So I think halving that would be needed. 10 XP is too much. 10 XP is too much. Don't get me wrong, I hate warrior spam. It's annoying but it's more to do with how easy it is to get the warrior priest as opposed to the warriors themselves. But yeah, so I think that needs to be 5 XP, but again, I don't think that makes too much difference. I don't think it makes too much difference. But it should be halved. Winged Hussar, it's had its food reduced by 50. Okay, good, because the Winged Hussar from the House of Vaza was kind of meh. It was kind of meh. It was really... They're still not worth 200 food, 100 coin. Definitely not worth that. But, you know, it's a good option. Woku Horseman is now correctly classified as Archer. Euroba Isa Rider range and melee resist increased to 55%. Okay. No one really uses them, so... Again, negligible. Okay, so let's get into the meat and veg. The juicy stuff, boys. The juicy stuff. Aztecs. Now, this is a big contention because I think Aztecs have been nerfed a bit too hard. High Priest of Tilton. The gather work rate of Warrior Priest is now increased by 10%, down from 20%. So that's a big nerf. That is a big nerf. This card is an Age 1 card, I believe, yeah. And the main reason you send this is because it increases your Explorer in battle by like 50%. So that's the main reason you send this. But, you know, having 10 and then still... if you had 10 Warrior Priests, having this card was like having an extra Warrior Priest because it's 20% on all of them. Sorry, it's like having an extra 2. But now it's like having an extra 1. You know, it's quite a big nerf. But, you know, I think people have been complaining about Warrior Priests. So maybe that's okay. To be honest with you, I don't see many people send that card anyway. But yeah. Infinite 1300 coin. Arrival time increased to 60 seconds, up from 40 seconds. The card will arrive in 40 seconds due to the recent acceleration of Imperial Age card unit. Okay, fine. I don't really see people use that anyway. It's not a great card, to be honest. It is infinite, I guess so. Titian Rebellion. Cost reduced from 1,000 of each resource. Okay, that's nice. So you've got the Revolt, which changes all their like archaic units into all the upgraded versions in Age 3 onwards. So that's quite good. Fixed an issue that prevented villagers to get replaced by warriors upon death. Didn't know that. Okay, Eagle Runner Knight added a 0.75 multiplier against infantry to all ranged attacks. That's quite a lot. Because don't get me wrong, right? Eagle Runner Knights are like one of the most insane units in the game, right? They are one of the most insane units in the game. I don't know if that's too much. Make it point like, even 0.9 would be nice. Even 0.9 would be nice. But maybe even 0.8. But 0.75 might be too much. But they are still a good unit. You know, the problem is with Eagle Runner Knights, they had no hard counter. They had no... Skirmish was supposed to be a counter, but Eagle Runner Knights traded really, really well with them. They got rid of really quick, you know. So I don't know. Maybe that's too much. Warrior Priest cover mode removed. I can't lie. That was so annoying that they could tank so much HP. And with how easily you can get these, it's probably a good change. Someone wants me to check Discord. Okay, so moving on. Skirmsdale Leicester Erks now, down from... Oh, okay. Well, we'll just have to see how this impacts the game then. But Aztecs have been hit quite hard here. Aztecs were a very good civ, but they weren't like the best civ. They weren't the top 3 civ by any stretch. So we'll have to see. Okay, Brits now, guys. This is the part where I say breathe in through the mouth and breathe out through the nose. Relax, okay, relax, because Brits are fine. Brits are absolutely fine. Okay, the world hasn't turned upside down. Manor House, cost reduced to 140 wood from 335. Okay, so an unbelievably negligible change. 5 wood. It doesn't do any difference to their starting 300, so they can continue to make two manor houses at the start of the game, so it doesn't disrupt their early tempo at all. And 5 wood is like a 3.5% change, so it makes no difference. Really makes no difference. Ranger, damage multiplier versus heavy infantry increased to 2. Okay, so they're buffing Rangers, which is good because Rangers suck ass. So, 5 Rangers added to... That's not a lot, considering you can get 10 longbows. But 13 Rangers added to Age 4. There could be some FI strats with the new GMT now as well. So 3 settlers have been removed. But don't worry, because they've added 2 infinite... The 2 infinite villagers is still there, okay? And when you realise that, in actual fact, with Brits, because Brits age up so quickly, the 3 settlers never came in till after you started aging up. Okay, so your age at the Brits problem, the issue with Brits was always their age up time. Okay, they could age up at like, you could click age up at 2 minutes 40, 2 minutes 30, 2 minutes 30, and have the best eco in the game and still have 17 vils, which was kind of unfair, right? So now you're aging up exactly the same time, but you have 16 vils in transition instead of 17. Okay, so chill guys. You still have the best eco in the game. You're still aging up faster than pretty much everyone in the game other than, I don't know, Ottoman and Dutch maybe. So it's still good, all right? It's still good. If anything, Brits you can kind of see Brits being buffed in other aspects of this. Greenwich Mean Time now arrives fast. That's insane. That is so insane. Greenwich Mean Time coming in quick means you can start TP now with 1 Manor House, and then you can send Greenwich Mean Time after 2 vils, and you will have an insane age up time. It's every single age up it increases. So even with 1 TP, it's like 20%. So guys, with GMT, you're gonna have insane age up times, and GMT is gonna come in before you age up. So you're gonna get decent mileage out of it. So there's going to be fast fortress strategies. There's going to be fast industrial strategies. I've already come up with this stuff. Ungers is already saying surely 300 wood is better than 2 vil. They've also got the wood trickle card, which is equivalent to about 2.25 villagers or 2.5. You know, so guys, Brits have got lots of options. Calm down. 5 extra wood cost to manage is nothing. 3 vils gone. I would have preferred something. I would have preferred -1 vil to their starting plate, because that way they would age up at 3 minutes like a normal person, and they'd still have the best eco in the game. But they've decided to go for this, which is you know, even better. You know, that's better than -1 vil. So yeah. So guys, any Brit main out there that's complaining and whining, chill. Just chill. This is good. This is good for the game. Brits have been S tier for the longest time ever. Yeah, it's a good change, trust me. Okay, let's move on. Virginia Company now only reduces the build bounty of manors to 22 XP. So we could now... The whole point of this, what it looks like to me, is that this is opening up new ways of playing Brits. Brits have been played a certain way, very linear, for the longest time, since 2005, since the game came out, like the original game came out, okay? Now we're starting to get some Greenwich Mean Time. Virginia Company could be back. There could be lots of TP starts for Brits now. So guys, Brits are probably going to be fun to play now. You know, it's not just going to be spam manors. They're probably going to have lots of versatile type build orders now, okay? So yeah, Brits are still going to be like one of the best. Brits are still going to be in top 5. If they're not the very best, they're in top 3 civs, top 5 civs. Okay, cool. Right, we're over that. Okay. Oh god. Right. So Baker rifles for Rangers. Range improvement for Rangers increased from 2 to 4. Again, they're trying to buff Rangers, which is great, because I like Rangers, and anyone that's a fan of the series called Sharp with Sean Bean. If you haven't watched it, guys, go and watch it. I kind of feel like the Rangers are like those type of soldiers. So yeah, it's just it's a very cool unit. It's a very cool unit. Technologies, Queen Rangers. This is the one in age 4. I think that costs 2k gold. It's very expensive. Fixed an issue where longbowman upgrades would continue to be available in the barracks. Okay. Okay, so we're over Brits. Right. Whew. Right, guys, you can exhale now. You can exhale. We breathed in, all right? You can breathe out through the mouth, okay? We're all good. We're clear. We're clear, all right? China. Again, China was very good. Civ was probably overperforming. Disciple now inflicts 2.5 damage against mercenaries. That's very random. I don't have a problem with it. I think that's probably... It might help versus some mercenary strategies, but Disciples are very weak anyway, so... you know, they're still going to get yeeted. Keshek now benefits from the target lock feature. They like this target lock feature, don't they? Keshek is kind of a bad unit, but that's okay. You know, they have bad animations, so to make up for it, they're giving them target lock feature, which I think is nice. Summer Palace now grants 300 food in... Okay, wow, so that's cool. That's cool. That's going to slow down the Fast Fortress. Age 3, no one uses it for Age 3, but in competitive play anyway. But the Age 2, it now grants 300 food. You can slightly offset that, but by eating the sheep the starting sheep or goat a little bit later. But again, it might mean you miss 1 vil or so, or something like that. Okay, moving on. Old Han Army, train time increased to 20 seconds. So by 2 seconds. That's almost 10%. To Standard Army, Old Han Army, Ming Army, and Mongolian Army. That's quite... Well, Mongolian Army is 4 seconds. That's quite a big nerf. I don't know if that's necessary. I like this change. That's probably all you need. This change is quite heavy. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm no China main, but yeah. Cards. Double-faced armor. Now increases range resistance of meteor hammers and iron flails by +5%, down from 10.5%. Oh, that's a big nerf. China Cav was kind of crazy. Because they could just mass them so out of absolutely nowhere, and it's the big China ball mass. So maybe that's what they're trying to turn down. But that's a quite big nerf. Repelling volley. That's the one that gives them an extra multiplier. No longer gets improved by this card. Both units now inflict +1 times damage bonus against all ranged shock infantry instead of only Eagle Runner Knights. Okay. Beiyang Army. This card sending 8 Steppe Riders and 8 Keshiks now costs up from 750 food. Okay, doesn't say that there's something wrong on there, but I guess it's a nerf. Maybe it's that wants to be 800 food or something. Iron Cap Prince's Army. This card sending 12 Chengdao and 2 flamethrowers now costs 800 food, down from 1000 food. Okay, I'm not sure anyone sends that, but it's a nice buff. 16 arcs now delivers 17. Okay, so age 4. So I know we've discussed this in the past, but I believe I think the industrial play by China could be probably a meta now. I still think that these are little changes, but they do add up. So again, we'll have to see what happens with China, see if the death ball is still there. It is, but it looks like it's been slowed down mainly because of the Sun Palace change. Dutch. I'm interested for the Dutch changes, by the way. I can't wait to see the Dutch changes. So I'm always theory crafting some Dutch changes. Bank hit points reduced to 3,500 from 4,000. I know Dutch at high elo aren't that great. They're probably near their bottom 50% of civilizations, but at lower elos, I think people struggle against them. They struggle to punish banks, so that's probably the reason for the change. So it is quite a heavy nerf because don't forget that these things cost 700 resources to make. TCs cost 500 resources and have way more HP. So just putting it out there. Cards. Piece of Munster. Envoy unit shipment increased from 2 to 1. Okay, negligible. Belgian Revolution added, but now also converts pikemen. Okay, we'll have to give that one a go. Tulip Speculation now improves bank coin production rate by 25%, up from 20. That's always been a bad card. It's a waste of a card, in my opinion. It was always, if you had 5 banks, this would only increase it, essentially be increasing it by 1 bank. Considering you're in age 4, that's a terrible card. It's now only an extra 5%. For me to pick this card, it would need to be at least 30%. But then you start, maybe then it's getting too good. New Buck Riders, age 2, 500 coin, ships 3 highwaymen. Enables them, I believe highwaymen are like a goon type unit. Enables them in taverns and stables for reduced resource and population cost. Interesting. So they don't have musketeers, but they have highwaymen now that they're able to make. Okay. Dutch States Army. Mercenaries arrive, train, and move faster. But Dutch infantry and cavalry is now more expensive. Enables Highlanders in barracks, Royal Horsemen in stables, and both in taverns. Okay, so Dutch potentially have a very good Musk Falk. Of course, that's the first place I go to. They've definitely got a good Musk Falk build order here now. I'm definitely thinking like an industrial sort of, fort and Highlanders with heavy cannons, So yeah, that could be cool. Definitely going to be trying that out. Ethiopia, technologies, East medicine, Indian alliance now correctly increases the range of Ethiopian villagers. Cards, new. Hand infantry combat, added to home city, improves shot warrior hit points and damage by 50%. I've read this before and I thought, that seems insane. Someone tell me that that's not insane, because that kind of feels really good. I feel like Shotter Warriors are good anyway. One of the issues with the African civs is that they essentially get a barracks, which is a barracks and a stable all in one. So yeah, it feels like they can mass a lot of these. These guys are really good. Who knows, especially with all the changes with skirmishers. So, you know, these guys, Shotter Warriors and Cav, are essentially by default getting a buff, right? Because skirmishers don't do as much damage versus them. On top of this, they're giving it a card which buffs it by 15% hit points and damage. That could be a problem. It could be a big problem. 3 Aroma Warriors unit increased to 4. I'm not too fussed because Aroma Warriors are bad, but 4 could be strong. 6 changed from 7 in age 4. 3 Abans.
Oh yeah.
Big Risotto coming in with a sub. What a legend.
Risotto
Welcome to the
underscore
Cav meta.
AOE just subscribed. Welcome to the Cav meta.
Yeah, exactly. I think my Musk Falk meta is still safe, so I'm still happy. 3 Abans increases the build limit of Abans by +1, down from +3. Okay. 5 Abans increases the build limit of Abans by +3, down from +5. 4 villagers added to the home city. Okay, again, that's another buff. British firearms. 3 no longer improves the damage of all heavy range cavalry. Instead, improves the range damage of all Ethiopian infantry and cavalry. This is kind of insane buffs for Ethiopia. Am I right? Like this kind of Ethiopia, they're already good, right? Ethiopia are already good, guys. This is going to be a problem, I'm telling you. Aben now heals artillery and elephants much slower. Okay, so they can still heal artillery and elephants, but much slower. By how much slower? That's the problem. 4 Vils isn't a big buff, no, but it's still a buff. It's still an eco option. Aroma Warrior population cost reduced to 2 from 3, especially if you're sending the card now. So if you sent 3 Aroma Warriors, that was 6 pop. No, sorry, it was 9 pop. Now you're sending 4, it's only 8 pop. So again, that's another buff to that one card. Okay. This is important though, that they heal artillery slower. That's the biggest thing, because you had that big Sebastopol mortar, and then you could have loads of Abans healing it. So that was a massive problem. Sebastopol mortar multiplier against artillery for solid and explosive shot increased to 0.25, up from 1. That's big. They're still bad against them though. Multiplier against buildings for siege attack to 1.25, up from 1. So they get nerfed that they can't get healed, but then they get buffed in another way. Don't get me wrong, I actually kind of feel like Sebastopol mortars were bad, and I feel like they should have been buffed. They did need a buff anyway. But the other changes kind of scare me a little bit. Some of these changes scare me a little bit. I think Ethiopia could be a real powerhouse. We'll have to wait and see. France, Ancient Regime, now also delivers a Royal Embassy wagon and moved to age 1. That was good because it was just a bad card. In age 2, you just had no way of sending it. So if you do TP start now and you want to go down this route, definitely that would be nice. You wouldn't need to build a barracks, etc. Continental blockade, Napoleonic era, now arrives fast. Okay, so this is for the new France revolt. So that arriving fast is very unlikely that ever gets sent. But okay, I can't remember what the Continental blockade does. I think this is the card that delays your opponent from being able to send a shipment for a few minutes. So yeah, okay, interesting. Grande Army, Napoleonic era, now also increases costs by the French Vils, the revolted Vils, by 25% in exchange for unlocking cheaper Imperial upgrades. Okay, fine. That's a bit of a nerf, but Napoleonic Warfare, the Sangchalates, however you pronounce that, themselves now provide less build XP in exchange for higher XP generation through combat. Okay, so that could be a buff, it could be a nerf. It's probably essentially saying it's trying to force you to fight more with them as opposed to anything else. So it's forcing you to fight more to get more XP. German unit Landwehr now has a legacy hotkey. Range attack multiplier for light cavalry increased to 1.5 from 1.25. Cards, Band of Landscape Mercenaries. We spoke about this earlier, so it's now had its reduced cost to 250 coin, but the Landscape has been nerfed in Age 2. So I think that's a good change though, because it's still not going to be picked. It's still I highly doubt it'll be picked, because I think you get 3 or 4 of them. Prince Electors, card moved to Age 1, the same with the Ancient Regime. Now also sends a Royal Embassy Wagon, yet the same as the France stuff. This could be interesting. This could open up a new way of playing with Germany completely, because this lets you align with one of the royal embassies, so you can definitely go down a certain route. But we'll see. There's other cards that synergize with it well in Age 3 now as well. Fix issues, except blah 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 blah. Okay. Witch Hammer now also reduces the population cost of outlaw type units. Okay. Circle Army, increase the unit counts to deliver 13 Bronze Swickers, 8 Mounted Infantry, and 5 Saxon Corsairs, up from 5, 4, and 2. This card before was so terrible. It was so terrible. I don't know why it was in, and but now if you send it, you get this. If you send it again, you get 8 Mounted Infantry, and if you send it another time, you get 5 Saxon Curs, which is very strong. But you have to send that card 3 times, so it is good. It does look really strong, but Bronze Wickers aren't these basically musketeers? We'll have to see how good that is. Cost added to 250 food and 250 wood. Okay, so there is a cost added to this, so maybe it's not as good as you might think. Is now properly classed as mercenary shipment and affected by mercenary loyalty. We'll definitely be giving this a try. Senhorse Reform now enables veteran Landhaus. Princely Bavarian Chugs, cost of 500 food added, but now also delivers 8 Prince Chevaliers. Okay. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, this is they're kind of going down this route. So if you synergize with one of the houses from the embassy wagon, one of the Prince Electors, if you synergize that well with some of these cards, you could have a really good skirm, goon, or whatever type synergy here. March Revolution, reduced cost to 1,000 wood coin. Okay, fine. And does pikemen into revolutionaries as well, so they're buffing that revolution very slightly, but it's not really a proper revolution. It's not even very good. Wallenstein's contracts, free Treaty of Westphalia, tooltip. Okay, Haudenosaunee, recruit Buccaneer Fleet. This card is now available in the Fortress Age and costs 800 coin, up from 500 coin. I believe that's the card. That's the 4 privateers, right? So that's like, even though it's more expensive now, I think that's a nice buff. That gives Haudenosaunee the ability to send 4 privateers in Age 3. It's kind of a good card, but it is expensive. You can't forget it is an expensive card. Hauser, here we go. Cards, Loyal Warriors now reduces the cost of the Akan Bowyers at the war camp granted by the Ganochi card. Okay, that's to do with the musketeers type units, Akans. Tetsi Sabotage. The gained ability now shares a cooldown across all emirs. I don't know what that does. Hauser Bakwai now costs 500 influence, down from 800 influence. I don't know what that is, but that's a huge buff if it only costs 500 influence, down from 800 influence. Okay, Hauser. Both Hauser and Ethiopia really scare me this patch. They both really scare me. They didn't need buffs. They were both really good. Inca, one of my most hated civilizations to play against. Units and buildings, villager, build limit reduced to 90, down from 99. I don't know why that changes there. I guess it's because when their houses produce food, right? So when they have the buff in Age 2, which increases that, they have an insane eco. They do have an insane eco. So, but is that going to impact supremacy? Not really. Will it infect treaty? Probably.
But no one cares about treaty.
Chincharaft, range reduced to 20 from 22, and now inflicts 0.25 bonus damage against villagers. Okay, Chincharafts are so annoying. They feel so good because they have such good fire animation, because they fire forward, right? So they're kind of really annoying. So okay, that's fine, that's good. Jungle Bowman, line of sight increased to 20 from 18. Okay, it's a buff to Jungle Bowman. I think Jungle Bowman are a decent unit. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're bad. Macemen, population cost reduced to 2, down from 3. You're still not going to make them because they're not very good. Plume Spearman, is now correctly classified as pikeman unit and archaic infantry. Okay. 5 macemen, food cost removed. That might be a good card, actually. That might actually be a good card now, because if you're like sieging down a fort, for example, and then your army pops out of the fort with 5 macemen, that could just absolutely mow down anything. So that might be a good card to have now. Monumental architecture. Now, I can't stand this card, and the fact that it's an H2 is insane. I have to say it one more time. So the building hit point increase, right, down from 45%. 45% building HP increase was what normal Euro civs had in H4, right? And that's just one card. This card also increases town center attack, similar to Colonial Militia. So it's like a cross between an H1 and an H4 card together for one card in H2. It's an insane card, and it's the single-handed reason why Inca have the most toxic gameplay in the game, that they have the most toxic turtle in the game, and it's very difficult to punish them because they have auto-gathering buildings for food, and they can run around the map, harass your villagers, and you can't take down their architecture because they've got this one card. So they can punish you, but you can't punish them. It's insane. That's been nerfed now. Is 30%, is it enough? I think just keep the card as it is, but put it in age 3. At least put it in age 3, and that would be fine, because that allows more age 2 play to punish them easier, but they've decided to do that instead. I think it's still a very good card. It is still a very good card. Womani, cost reduced to 250 wood from 500. I think that was the card that gives you 2 Kalanka houses. So, again, you've slightly nerfed monumental architecture, but you've now buffed a card which lets them turtle even harder. Okay, this is sometimes I think like you just completely offset that now. But anyways, 2-pack rebellion, cost reduced to 1500 of each resource, down from 2000. Okay, that's still not going to be used, but Chimi runners now convert into guard hussars instead of veteran hussars. That's objectively good. That should happen at least. Totora reads, Doc Big Button, cost decreased to 500 food. Wood and gold down from 600. Okay, fine. Now increases the Chincharath build limit by 4, down from 8, and adds 4 range and line of sight. Okay, so their power on water has been nerfed very slightly. So again, they are kind of, the Chincharaths could be really insane because they have such insane fire animation. They're a small unit, so their hitboxes are quite small, so they can bunch together really well. Whilst you've got like fighting like frigates and Caroleans, they all bunch together. They have to turn to the side. They've got slow fire animation. So yeah, so I like that change. Coming on to probably one of the best civilizations in the game at the moment, India. Definitely top 3. Carni Martyr, aura effect reduced to 10%, gather boost rate from 15%. We were in the meta of the Carni Martyr, and the change was insane, and everyone was going Carni. I think Carni's still good, but yeah, that's been nerfed. That was needed, definitely. Rajputs, so they're looking at buffing Rajputs. Interesting. Cost decreased to 90 food from 35 wood, so that's minus 10 food. That's actually quite a lot. Building damage increased to 35 from 25. Okay. Melee damage reduced to 14 from 18, but rate of fire improved to 1.25 from 1.5. And then they've changed the Mansabar version of the Rajput as well to the equivalent Sepoy and Sepoy Mansabar. Melee damage increased to 18 from 15. Increased. Anti-cavalry multiplier reduced to 1.75 from 3. Okay, yeah, so this is a big issue. So that's fine if you want to do that, because let's be honest, right? The Sepoy multiplier times 3, it has always been insane, right? It's always been way too good, right? Way too good. Because you take into consideration Janissaries. Janissaries have +2 multiplier, yet for some reason Sepoys get a times 3, and they're very similar units. I think one has slightly more HP. I think Janissaries have more HP, but the Sepoys have more attack, so that's how they differed. But cost wise, they were very similar. But they had an extra multiplier in the melee attack, which made no sense. So to go from that to 1.75 is quite hefty. I think just put it to 2. Just put that to 2. There's no reason why that needs to be 1.75. Just put it back to 2, and that's absolutely fine. Yes, you're trying to... What they're trying to do is they want Rajputs to be more used, and that's fine. There'll definitely be cool build orders with this, and Rajputs could be more utilized now. But don't nerf sepoys so hard that it's pointless. You know, it's not going to be not pointless making them, but don't nerf them too hard. That being times 2, it should be 2. It should be 2. Okay, building damage decreased to 19 from 22, so they've got sepoys are getting nerfed. But don't forget, guys, India are really, really strong at the moment. Let's not forget, okay? So Carney is being nerfed by 5%, and then sepoys are being nerfed. Right, that's it. Rajputs are being buffed. India are still really good. Cards, foreign trading companies. Card moved to age 3. Export trickle improved to 0.75. Okay, that could be options for India. Indian gunpowder now also improves sepoy hit points and damage by 10%. Okay, cool. Technologies, exalted sepoys, hit points and damage now get increased by 50%, down from 60%. Okay. The levy from the Ottoman consulate. This was a big problem because they had the Ottoman Minutemen, right, which have been buffed. Okay, they have multipliers versus heavy infantry, so they were basically impossible. You couldn't rush India because of this, right? Not to mention they have agri-forts as well and all sorts. So instead of the Ottoman Minutemen, this consulate shipment previously available to the Indians has now been replaced with 6 AZAPs. So I really like that change. So AZAPs are they're an anti-cavalry unit, but they're not very good against anything else. Like, they don't do any damage at all, realistically, to normal military units. So I like that change. It's if they go down that change, they still have the cav option from the Ottoman consulate, but they also have, you know, if you go down a cav route, a build order, and you do semi-cav or something like that, then they can ship the AZAPs as well to act as those type of pikemen, the ranged pikemen. So that's cool. I like the change. India, we like India. We like Italians. Persecules range resist increased to 25% from 20%. So that's a really nice buff. That's actually quite a good buff. That's really quite a good buff. That you know, when you think about how many skirms you make, like, and how much that 5% increases. Cards. So we've discussed this earlier on the stream, but to go over it here, so they've got 2 new cards, one for age 2 and one for age 3, and it essentially deposits. The first one in age 2 deposits 1,000 food into your Lombards, and then the second one in age 3 deposits 1,500 wood. So currently we have the age 2 card that gives 700 gold and ships a Lombard. So I think the meta or the build order will certainly change for Italy. This card, this one in age 2 will certainly be used, and I think this one will also be used as well. So that the one in 1,500 wood will give you obviously wood and gold. That will help with the industrial style, but you still have the other card 1,500 gold, which gives you the wood and food, which would be better for more age 3 play. Albania company now sends 4 Stradius and 4 Bosniaks, so it gives an extra Bosniak. So that's good because the card was resource-wise was terrible. Steel bolts, siege damage reduced to 10, down from 16. Okay, that's good because still the metal of the steel bolts was infuriating. Team Marco Polo now delivers 25% more resources from treasure rewards to the entire team, down from 100%. Okay, good. Technologies, Imperial Persecules removed the 5% range resist improvement. So they've given it in industrial, but then, you know, they take it away from Imperial. So yeah, it works out the same. Japanese, 4 Shrine Wagons. This is a new card. Shrine Wagon count increased to 5. Okay, that's cool because you can send that twice. Okay, it reminds me of the 4 Torque Wagons that you send as Sweden. Azikura no longer improves shrine hit points, but now ships 4 Shrine Wagons, improves their gather rate by 5%, and enables shrines to slowly repair themselves. This card can now be sent twice. Okay, so 4 Shrine Wagons. Okay, so these are both very similar cards, right? If I'm reading that right. Okay, we'll have to see. Close combat, reduce hit points improvement to 10%, down from 15%, and melee damage multiplier increased shock against shock infantry reduced to 0.75, down from 1. Okay. Naginata Rider, reduced hit point improvement to 20%, down from 25%. Okay, that's a nerf. Nanban Trade. 300 wood, 300 coin. Cost reduced to 300 wood and card renamed to Como trade. I don't know what that does, but it's been buffed. 7 samurai. Unit count increased to 8, but no longer improves samurai hit points and damage by plus 5% twice. Okay. 7 lucky gods moved to age 1. Sword Saint now also improves samurai hit points and damage. So they're trying to do some samurai play here because, like the Rajput, they weren't really used. So will we see samurais used? Don't know. Will we see a new meta with Japan? These cards kind of feel like they don't feel like overpowered by any sense, but they're kind of crazy in the sense of maybe we've got a new style of Japan. Maybe you could do rush builds while sending these to increase your hit, your population space. Who knows? Technologies now reduces spawn time of dojos by plus 20%, down from 25%. Shipments, this is Malta now. Shipments added a 2% penalty to their shipment curve to balance the hit points per card bone. Okay, so basically I think Malta are gonna need to do TP starts now. that could be big if it has like a cumulative effect. So yeah, I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Maybe it doesn't impact it that much until you sort of get to the 3rd or 4th or 5th cards. But maybe it does have a big impact and you need to do TP starts now. We'll have to wait and see. Cards. Wow, so they get 5 Sentinels in age 2 now. That's really cool. I like that. Because I'm a Sentinel fan, right? I'm not an Expo Pike enjoyer. I do, that's their best units in late game, the Expos. But I really like the Sentinels. Their biggest cost, the biggest problem with them is that they're 2 pop. But that's where their cost comes. So they're a very good early unit, but they definitely fall off in the late game. So I really like that, because I think if they get rushed heavy, that could definitely be a good card to send. Wigner Court Constructions, the additional gather rate bonus around town centers, outposts, and commentaries is now reduced to an additional 15%, down from 20%. The total effect of gathering natural resources near one of these buildings is now 25%, down from 30%. Okay, that's good. I don't mind that. Although Malta aren't particularly strong, Wigner Court is an insane card. Steel Bolts, siege damage reduced to 10, down from 16. Okay, they're doing the same thing as Italy because, yeah, their expos are insane when they get this card. They are still going to be insane, and so that's only going to slow them down a tad. But that's still a decent nerf. Units and buildings. Fixed gun now correctly displays the damage multiplier of 0.1 against siege troopers and arrow knights. Order Longbowman corrected range damage to 16 from 17 to a line unit. I don't like that card. Order Longbowman is just not a good card. The British tongue is just not a good card, in my opinion. Mexican, Cruise Ob, or in my opinion, Cruise Bob. Infantry, May Revolution. Range damage multiplier for all shock infantry changed to hand shock infantry. Okay. Cards, Coach Guns. Baja, California, now also ships 3 Comancheros and 3 Renegados. We'll send United Outlaws instead of the Bad Boys card that has been sent. Okay, that's that. I think if that's the card I think it is, that's a good buff. Michigan Fisherman now sends 1 dot wagon instead of 2. Yeah, so that card was the card that gives you more. It gives you more fishing boats per card that you've sent, and this was always a must-have. Like you would always go down this route, the feudal card for Mexico, if it was a water map. But the 2 docks was kind of insane. So the fact that it gives 1 dock, that I can get behind that because it was kind of a really, really good card. So, the fact it only has 1 dock wagon, it definitely nerfs it heavy. That is a heavy nerf, I have to say. To that card, that's a heavy nerf. But it's good. It's still a good card. It's now capped. Okay, so the Chinacos card as well is capped at 8 Chinacos. I probably would have liked it to be capped at 9. I feel like 9 makes it really worthwhile. Because if you think about it, Germany get a 9 Ulan card and an 8 Ulan card. I know Chinacos you can argue are better, but only slightly. So that caps at 8 Chinacos. But I think that's probably about right anyway. I think most people send it when it's about that anyway. 8 or 9. 7 Laws, move to age 1. That's not a good card. I don't like the card. I think it's more of a treaty card than anything else. Zakata Silver now only delivers 1 Prospector wagon each time it is shipped after the first shipment. Okay. Good change. Says Ungas. Ottomans. Abbas Gunner. Now, this is this could be a problem. So Ottomans, we need some small nerfs to Ottomans because Ottomans are very strong at the moment. I.e., really, their Abbas guns are really strong. Abbas gunner, but I like some of the Ottoman changes here, and I'll go over why. So Abbas gunner range resistance decreased from 20% to 15%. Personally, I think that could be 15%, but at least an extra 5%. That's going to help the skirmisher battles. So at least skirmishers are going to be able to do better. Not to mention that Abbas gunners do really bad damage now to cav. So you could definitely have some good skirm cav micro versus Abbas gunners. So yeah, so that's a nice change. That's good. AZAPs, cost adjusted to 55. So they're basically minus 10 wood but plus 10 food. That's a buff, slight buff. Fixed the visual bug with the AZAP shield not upgrading. The Grens, Humbarassis, siege damage increased to 50 from 48, and melee damage increased to 28 from 26. That's a good buff. I've not seen anyone do the Humbarassi rush, and I don't know why, because I've done it, and these guys are insane. They take down a TC really quickly. They're essentially only really hard countered by cav as well, so you know they do really well against musketeers. They still do well against skirmishers as well. Imam resource cost changed to 100 coin to 115 food to give it a unique trait different from priest. Okay, fine. That doesn't really make any difference. It's just changing it to give it a unique feel, which I'm always in favor of. I like different civs having different kind of feels to them. Cards: 7 AZAPs in H2. 11 AZAPs in H3, 22 AZAPs in H4. Okay, so these are new cards added. Am I going to pick these cards? I highly doubt it. The only time I would pick, let's say, 7 AZAPs or 11 AZAPs, if I was doing like a Fast Fortress versus Germany. That's the only time I would have 11 AZAPs in, because that's one of the only civs, or maybe Aztec as well, because they're the only two civs I can think that this is worth sending. Got to remember it's not auto upgrading them either. So Matriarchy School reduces the train time of all infantry by minus 30% and of Ottoman infantry by an additional 10%. Okay, so that's very good, but is it going to be in people's decks? Who knows. Definitely sounds like a treaty card for sure. Sebesi reduced hit point improvement for Abbas gunners and the Grens to 20% from 25%. So again, that's another nerf for the Abbas gunners, which is good. 6 Nizam Fusiliers now probably respects population cost. I'm proud, right? I was the one that bought this up. I was the one that discovered that this card, for whatever reason, it didn't happen to the other Nizam Fusiliers cards. Or the Janissary cards when they changed to Nizam Fusiliers, when you use the card or the tech that gives you, you can then send Nizam Fusiliers. But for some reason, this one didn't respect population space. Like, you could send this even if you was max Nizams. So it was just one of the things. And I did bring that up with the appropriate people. So I'm proud that I discovered that one. Not that it made any difference, really, but... Akinensis now also improves cavalry archer train time by minus 50%. Okay. Oglan School no longer reduces train time of Janissaries and Nizams, but now reduces the cost of all Ottoman infantry instead. Minus 20% for Janissaries, Humbarassis, and Azaps. That's quite a lot. But again, is that going to be in people's decks? I don't know. Is it a treaty card only? Maybe. Minus 10% for Nizams and Abbas gunners. Okay. That could be a good card. That could be quite good, especially in the late game. But again, is it going to be a supremacy card? I don't know. Probably not. Flight archery no longer improves train time for AZAPs and cavalry archers, but instead increases their damage by 15%. That's a buff. That's really good. Team Capiculu cost reverted to 1200 food, down from 1500, and no longer improves heavy cavalry melee armor by 10%. Move to the new mosque tech. Card renamed to. Okay, now this is where it gets interesting. So I like Ottoman. I've always liked the church card. So now the church card has free tech upgrades or like unit shipments, if you will. So we've got the Capiculu Corpse, which is an H4, and it's from the church, and it added a third unique mosque technology for parity with other civilizations. This one sends 4 Spahis and improves heavy cavalry armor by 10%, upgrading Spahis into Capiculu Spahis. It costs 1400 food. With the cheaper church techs, that changes to what, like 600-700 food maybe. So yeah, so that's really good because you can send lots of Spahi cards along with that, and you could essentially, against some civs, just have an army with 10% melee armor that you could just smash into musketeers. You might only need like a few abbas or a couple of falconets as well, and you could just have an army of Spahi. You will just absolutely wreck everything. Another buff is to the Nizam Fusilier ones. So it now sends 20 Nizams instead of 15. Now remember, I think that's good. People might think that's too good, but doesn't this card cost like 2,500 wood? It's 2.5k wood, and there's only really two ways you can make that work. One is the one that Azant came up with, which is essentially in age 2 you get lots of food, and then you can use the card in age 1 to convert it all into wood. But that's not great. Yeah, I think, but maybe with 20 it might be a lot better. And the other way is to go into industrial and use the church card and the cheaper church text, which I certainly will be trying out here. So I think that the church industrial is going to be dangerous. Karim Rejoice, yeah. So I really think that's going to be dangerous. Imperial Azaps increases ranged attack range by +2. Okay, they're buffing Azaps, fine. I feel like I spoke about the Ottoman for ages. Okay, so let's go into Portugal. I don't know if I like this change. So Feitoris no longer adds XP generation to town centers, but the rates for food increased to 0.45, which is it up from 4? Up from, oh, so it's up from 0.3. And for wood and coin increased to 0.23, up from 1.5. I'm not sure I like that change. If Feitoris is now to be used, because you don't get that extra XP, you're gonna struggle to get the 700 wood in time when you do the fast fortress. So you're gonna have to get a TP in transition, or you're gonna have to do a starting TP. So either one of the others to make Feitoris effective. So I would definitely be trying that. This now also removes the ransom cooldown for explorers. Okay, interesting. Castador, that could be really interesting actually. I don't know. We'll see what that card does. I presume it's a explorer buff card. So the unit's Castador fixed an issue that would grant Castador's veteran combat strength when made available in the Commerce Edge. Okay. Technology, the Logistician now increases the range of pikemen by 0.5 instead of 1. Okay, that's a nerf. Musketeer and crossbowman improvements remain unchanged. The description has been changed. Okay. I don't think that was overperforming, but it's been nerfed regardless. On to Russia. New civilization bonus can now reach 210 population space to offset the individual weakness of Russian units in late game. That's a really nice buff. It's buffing treaty as well. I'm not sure how good Russia are in treaty. Probably not used, but in late game supremacy, that's a really good buff. Cards, 12 Oldenburg allies fix the bug that resulted in royal hunters consuming more population space. Okay, so Russia got a buff. Spanish. Missionary classified as a cavalry unit. I presume that means they'll get hard countered by goons and such harder. Soldado is no longer affected twice by the British home city card. Team must okay. So that don't worry, that Soldado Hacienda Spanish FI, if you will, that Mayor Seti likes to do is still good. Cards, Spanish Square now delivers 20 pikemen instead of 10 pikemen and 8 rods, and grants pikemen additional 10% ranged and melee resistances. 20 pikemen has been removed. Okay, but it's been put there and it's been buffed. My Spanish bow pike FI just got better. Oh yes. Oh yes. Let's go. House of Trastamara now reduces the next age up by 80 resources, down from 100 resources per shipment set in the current age. This was kind of a really good card because this allowed Spain to do crazy age 2, like to do early age 2 open, and then use this card to change like your fast fortress from 1200 food and 1k gold to like 700 food and 600 gold or something ridiculous. So it was resource wise, it was really good. But it's been nerfed by 20%, so that's probably good. Spanish gold coin crates are now also delivered for recently added mercenary shipments. Okay. Sweden. Now, Sweden are definitely one of the better civs in the game. Range cavalry combat. Fix an issue that made this card affect the entire team. Okay. Cards. Torp. Okay, so why is this in cards? Don't know why this is in cards. They've done something wrong there. Torp. Cost increased to 140 wood from 135 wood, and build time to 16 seconds from 2.5 seconds. XP values updated accordingly. Okay, so like the mana, that's fine. That's fine. I think that's negligible. Okay, the 140 wood is negligible. Okay, because Sweden could definitely max Torp on the map by like 7.5 minutes, right? So it was too good, right? It was too good. But the wood cost doesn't matter. Okay, that doesn't matter. 5 wood doesn't really matter. It's negligible. It's the same with manners. But this does matter. So the fact that it costs almost 4, so it's 3.5 seconds later. That's gonna slow the Torp boom down, not significantly. But what it's gonna allow other people to do, and this is the biggest complaint about Sweden, is that the villagers that are building Torps now are going to be able to be easily punished harder. So if you're building, if you go with a villager up somewhere, an obscure place in the map, and you build like 4 Torps, you might get 1 or 2 down, but now the opposing person is going to be able to apply pressure earlier, and their pressure is going to be more effective because they're going to be able to kill these villagers that go and build Torps, and that's how you contain Sweden. You always want to contain Sweden, so they're going to be easier to contain, and I think it's not a huge nerf, but it is sufficient. So we'll see how that impacts. We'll see how that impacts the Sweden's. We'll see how that impacts Sweden's eco. I think it's good. I think it's a good change. Lever cannon. Negative damage multiplier of 0.5 added against heavy cavalry and hand shock infantry. Okay, I don't know. Did they not have a negative multiplier before? Okay, they didn't do very well against cavalry anyway, so that's almost doesn't matter, and you have cavalry generally, so that won't matter too much. But definitely sounds about right if that's the case. Hacker pellet. Fixed the outdated unit tooltip that still described them as heavy hand cavalry instead of light cavalry, finally. Now inflicts range bonus damage only against hand... Now inflicts ranged bonus damage only against hand shock infantry instead of all shock infantry. Okay. Negative damage multipliers of 0.7 against infantry and... Damage multipliers of 0.7 against infantry and villagers, up from 0.6. Are now used in all melee and ranged attacks. So, did they have this negative multiplier at range as well? I don't think they had it at range. Or did they have it for... They had it for one other, right? Because that 0.7 is a buff from 0.6, obviously. But I don't think they had it in both melee and ranged. Yes, they had it. Okay, maybe if that's the case, then that's probably a good change, because yeah, I don't want Hacker Pellet to go back to a redundant unit. Siege damage, I still think they're pretty much an exclusively a team unit. Okay, sorry, I just muted myself for something happened with the mic. Siege damage reduced to 14 from 20. I don't know why that's changed. Maybe that's a team. That's a team game change because they were worried that maybe if you mass too many of them, I don't know. But that's quite a big nerf. Anyways, okay, moving on. United States card. Scottish immigrants moved to HT, but it costs 400 coin and no longer ships a Highlander by default. United States Marines. Right, I'm going to get on my high horse here, right? But someone's at my door, so give me 2 seconds, guys, and I'll be right back. Right, you should be able to hear me. Right. I'm afraid to say it, guys. I'm gonna get a little bit emotional here. Right. So United States Marines, age 3. Now also, Marines can be healed. Okay, that sounds cool. That sounds good, but how fast can they be healed, etc.
Emotional damage.
The reason why I've got a problem with this is siege damage improvement for Minutemen has been halved. Like, in what world would you halve that? The whole point of sending Marines is for the siege damage. It's basically USA's only way of dealing with turtle strategies. Okay, so if you imagine you've got lots of, at the moment you've got Portuguese turtles, you've got Ottoman turtles, fast industrial turtles, you've got lots of TCs, they get forts up. If USA don't have Marines that deal good siege, they have no good siege options. The only way you've got a siege option is by getting mortars in age 4, but USA can't effectively get to age 4. You know, they're an age 3 tempo civ, right? Gatling guns are not good at sieging. Then they have the only option is musketeers, but every civ has musketeers, and on top of that, USA can't. They have one of the worst ecos in the game, and they can't mass lots and lots of musketeers like Brits can, for example. So why on earth would you make that change? I honestly have no idea why they would make that change. It's one of their. I'm lost. I'm honestly lost for words. Marines are a good unit. Okay, Marines are a good unit, right? But they still only have 4 speed. They have 4 speed. They're not hard countered by a lot, but they are countered by artillery and skirmishers. Okay, they have 4 speed and 12 range. Okay, like, why they're nerfing that? The whole point of going Marines is for their siege, and now they're cutting it in half. I actually looked at the stats on this, right? Marines now have less siege than the regulars, than their musketeers. They have less siege than musketeers. What's the point of going Marines now? What, you might as well just mass musketeers. Like, what is the point in going Marines anymore? They don't fit a niche anymore. Like, I'm trying to be civil about this, but honestly, I'm just unbelievably, like, inside, like, they're my favorite civ, and I'm just fuming about it. I'm absolutely fuming. And I could go off the bandwagon, right? Because we're going to go on to the Gatling guns here, right? So Gatling gun damage multiplier versus cavalry has been halved, right? So they do even less damage versus cavalry now. I know Gatling guns still did quite good damage versus cav, so that's fine. Like, the settler increased to 90 from 85. Why it was down from 99 anyway? I like that. United States, okay, have received nerf after fucking nerf after fucking nerf. Every single patch, they continue to get nerfed. They're nowhere near the best civilization in the game. If anything, they're near the bottom. They're certainly in the bottom 50% at a high level, okay? And the only reason people complain about them is because they can't be bothered to learn the civilization and learn the mechanics of it. Because at high level, most high level players will agree with me that they are not a top performing civ. So it's infuriating that people just whine and moan about Gatling guns, about Marines, because they don't have good micro. And that's what it all comes down to. People that can't micro properly want to just whine and complain. I said it. And it's such a shame, because United States are probably my absolute favorite civilization. They are my favorite civilization. And they've been nerfed yet again. So, yeah. I just feel like I have to say that. If you wanted to turn it down, fine. If you wanted to turn it down, because they get a plus 1000%, it's plus 1000% increase from Minutemen, because Minutemen have like 5 siege, right? So they get like 50 something siege. Now it's 25 siege, because it's been halved. Like 50%. if you want to change it 10, 15%, even 20%, but 50%? 50% for a lower performing civilization. Like USA have, all I'm going to say is, okay, USA are going to get destroyed by turtle civilizations. They're going to absolutely destroyed by turtle civilizations that can boom. Tell me what United States does against Portugal. Someone tell me how United States now beats Ports. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a good answer. Anyways. Enough rant over. We'll go next. Revolutions, Argentina. Okay, so these are just revolution changes. These aren't the important ones anyway. So Argentina have been changed. Gran Colombia, you don't even use these ones. Indonesia. So there's been a few. Mexico. This is the this is the revolt version. So that's it, guys. So that's it. So yeah. So I got off my soapbox.